So we are live on YouTube. LinkedIn I couldn't get. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and a warm welcome to the International Women Leadership Series 2026, hosted by Women in HR by Sakkhi. Today's session on Women in HR, giving culture to gain belonging, is very close to what workplace truly need right now. Not just policies, but real connection and belonging. We have an incredible panel of leaders joining us today, and I am excited to bring this conversation to all of you. Setting the context, as organizations evolve, the role of HR is no longer just about processes. It's about shaping a culture, building trust. Sorry for that. And creating space where people feel valued. And that's exactly what we explore today. Let me quickly introduce our wonderful speakers for today. The first introduction is about our moderator, Ashima Sayani. She heads as country HR manager, Enerpac India Private Limited. Welcome, Hasima. She is a senior HR business partner with over 16 years in the driving organizational success to strategic planning, talent management, and employee engagement. She specializes in aligning HR objectives with business goals to enhance performance and satisfaction, managing complex multi geography initiatives, and fostering collaboration among stakeholders. Her adaptive leadership style promotes open communication and culture of continuous improvement. While her focus on diversity and inclusivity empowers employees and cultures a high performing environment. She is committed to positioning HR as a strategic partner that contributes to overall business success. Welcome, Asima. And our next speaker for today is Rekha Nagaraj. She is heading as CHRO at MFAR Constructions Private Limited. She enterprise chief human officer with 32 years of leadership experiences driving large scale workforce and human capital transformation across multi location operations, managing portfolios exceeding to 1,500 million. Strategic partner to CEO and senior leadership teams in aligning people strategy with business growth and operational scalability, governance excellence, and EBITDA performance across real estate, construction, IT, and diversity sectors. Recognized for building high performing leadership teams, strengthening succession pipelines, and institutionalizing governance framework that enable sustainable business growth, experienced in leveraging HR frameworks, digital HR tools, and analytics driven workforce planning to employee engagement and organization capability. Welcome, Rekha Nagaraj, to this panel discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Lakshmi. A small correction, the company is called as MFAR Constructions Private Limited.
Oh, okay. Sorry for that.
No issues.
So, our next speaker is Prerna Reeves. She heads as project manager at Maximus India. She has always believed that workplaces transform when people feel seen, supported, and inspired. And that belief has shaped every chapter of her career. From HR, business partnering to leading employee relations, she has built her foundation on understanding people, solving the complex, and turning challenges into meaningful progress. Her thinking gives her the creative edge to connect dots differently. I think I should. uh, Sorry for that. Uh, I think you can hear the voice. Sorry. Um, and let me reintroduce Prerna. She has always believed that workforce transform when people feel seen, supported, and inspired. And that belief has shaped every chapter of her career. From her HR business partnering to leading employee relations, she has built her foundation on understanding people, solving the complex, and turning challenges into meaningful progress. Her thinking gives her the creative edge to connect dots differently and craft solutions that truly resonate. She brings the same human centric mindset into her role as a project manager, where strategy meets storytelling. She managed the country's head office with a blend of precision and empathy, collaborating with global and India leaders to drive governance, clarity, and direction. Stakeholder management isn't just part of her job, it's her superpower. From partnering with corporate communications to bring major events to life, to leading CSR initiatives that create real social impact, her work sits at the intersection of strategy, execution, and storytelling. At the heart of it all, her mission remains the same: to elevate people, shape culture, and craft narratives that spark positive change within teams across organizations or in the communities we serve. Welcome, Prerna, for this panel discussion.
Thank you, Rajlakshmi. Looking forward to this.
Yeah. And now I would like to hand over to Ashima to take over this panel discussion as a moderator.
Thank you. Thank you, Raj Lakshmi and Sakkhi for Women for this opportunity and for the wonderful introductions. As Prerna said, really looking forward to this conversation because today's theme is not just about HR and it goes much, much beyond HR framework. It is something that touches all of us and it is something that is deeply human. It is all about belongingness. How do we say that, yes, I belong here? So, let's explore a little more into this, right? When we say that we have taken so many initiatives in various authorities, as an HR, as a leader, as country heads or business leaders, right? We spend so much time talking about engagement, performance, productivity. But at the core of it, the entire thing boils down to a simple question: do people feel like they truly belong? Right? And to explore this, I once again welcome Prerna, Reeves, and Rekha Nagaraj. Thank you for joining us here. Both Rekha and Prerna they bring across very diverse experience in HR and business domains. So, without any further ado, when we say belonging, it can mean very different things to different people. For some, it can be feeling heard, feeling safe, feeling valued, or it can be as simple as that you can be yourself. So, my first question is to both of you, Prerna and Rekha, what does it means, what it means to you, and especially in your workplace? Rekha, if you can take it first.
Okay. Shall I take the question first?
Sure.
Okay. Belongingness is not inclusion, in my opinion. Belongingness is something people people should feel the ownership of the organization. That means they should feel this is my company. When do they feel that? They feel that only when they are heard, when they are valued, and they feel that when they are a part of the company. That is when the belongingness comes to the employees. Now, when we talk about employees, every time you think about people are leaving the organization, why do they do that? This is only because they feel that they're not belong to the organization. Now, how does this come? The employees should feel that they are valued in the organization, they have been heard in the organization, they have to be given an opportunity where they can express themselves, where they can feel that the company wants them, they are a part of the company. So, in my opinion, belonging is when an employee is not working for the organization, but he's working with the organization. That is what I feel belongingness is. This is my perspective, Ashima.
Thank you. I mean, what a simple and a beautiful definition. Not working for the organization, but with the organization, right? A true blue ownership approach wherein you can find your safe haven of belongingness. Prerna, what is it that you would want to add on to this?
Sure. First of all, thank you for the question, Ashima, and thank you to the Sakkhi team for creating this platform and for such an important conversation. And on the occasion of Women's Day, of course, I'd also like to acknowledge and celebrate the women leaders and professionals who continue to shape our workplace. Now, coming to the question, Ashima, for me, if we look at, and I'm going from a little bit of a theoretical approach. So if we look at Maslow's theory, belonging sits right in the middle after safety and before self-esteem and self-actualization. That positioning is very powerful. And it also tells us that before people can truly perform, lead, or innovate, they need to first feel that they belong. And belonging means your voice is heard, especially when it differs. It means you're treated as an insider, encouraged to retain your uniqueness rather than confirming it. And from a business lens, if I have to say, this matters deeply. When people feel they belong, they move from being employed to being invested. And invested people take ownership. They speak up, they stay, they build. So belonging goes deeper than appreciation for the work you do. It's about psychological safety. It's about not filtering yourself just to survive the room. It's about bringing your true self to work without the fear of being judged or sidelined in that same room. And when culture intentionally creates that environment, I think belonging stops being a feel good initiative and becomes more of a strategic advantage. So, belonging is not just a soft idea. I feel it's the bridge between safety and high performance.
Wow. Oh, what a way to connect what we studied in our colleges and how it impacts our day-to-day work and the way you define the bridge, right? Thank you for that thought, Prerna. And something you both truly mentioned, right? What I'm hearing right now is that belonging is not just
Ashima, I
about
think we lost you.
inclusion. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I was saying that what I heard from both your conversations was belonging is not just only about inclusion anymore, right? It is all about small day-to-day experiences, my everyday experiences. What is it that I do? What is it that I say? How am I made what do I feel at work, right? So speaking on that, we often say culture eats strategy for breakfast. But culture in itself can feel owned by everyone and no one at the same time. So, again, a question for both of you. Do you think culture is something that HR drives, leadership sets, or something that gets built collectively? Your thoughts on that? I guess we do not have Rekha with us online. Maybe she'll join us. Prerna, in the meantime, can you please take
Sure.
this?
Sure.
Yeah.
Again, Ashima, I believe workplace culture is co-owned, but not equally influenced because HR plays a very crucial role in, in designing the architecture, defining values, policies, building systems, and measurements that create the conditions for the right culture to thrive. But when it comes to leadership, so it's the leadership that brings that culture to life, because culture is not sustained by what's written. It's sustained by what's consistently practiced. It shows up in meetings, in voice, in whose voice gets interrupted or whose voice is amplified. So it's about how conflict is handled and what leaders prioritize, reward, and consistently demonstrate becomes the culture that is lived. Then, when we come to the next layer, which is managers, so managers then activate it in everyday interactions, in feedback conversations, team meetings, hiring decisions, and how performance is also evaluated. They operationalize culture in daily moments. And when it comes to our employees shape it through their behaviors, norms, and peer accountability. So, yes, culture is everyone's responsibility, but it requires alignment. While HR enables it, leadership legitimizes it, managers operationalize it, and people experience and reinforce it. And when this ecosystem works together, belonging stops being an initiative; it becomes the norm. Those
Perfect.
are my thoughts.
Very, very truly defined. While culture is everyone's duty, but everybody has a role to play. Who's an influencer? Who's the one who practices it? And more so, I guess, the better reinforcement comes when culture is combined with the action words. We do. It should not be we can or we will. It is we do it daily. And what best can, I mean, apart from just the HRs and the senior leadership, a very wonderful point that you touched here was the middle managers, right? They are the ones who actually connect the thought process of what organization has envisioned with the people on ground, right? Happy to have you back, Rekha. We were speaking about the role of culture in building the sense of belongingness.
Yes. I would say that coming to culture, all the as HRs, what we actually design the policies, procedures. That's the notion people have always, but they never think that HR is a business enabler. So coming to that, HR basically designs the policy procedures, but who drives it? The leadership team. The leadership team is one who drives the policy procedures down the line. That is my belief. And sustaining the people are sustaining the culture. That's what we need to look at. We need to look at that HRs are basically bringing in the policies, but leaders who are the business drivers, they are the people who have to drive these policies to down the line people, and they need to ensure that this has to be imbibed with every employee in the organization. That is what I actually feel. And then culture is not owned only by the HR. It has to be driven by every manager's behavior in the organization, which is very, very important. And how we can build the organization is only through our leaders. They could be leaders in any level in the organization. Every level has to drive this business for the organization. Only then what you plan as a HR will be delivered and it will be impactful for the business. That's my opinion.
Absolutely. Everyone has a role to play in it, right? And while it is a very collaborative process, but at the same time, rather than being an ambiguous accountability, it's really helpful when these roles are defined and everybody understand who owns it. Uh, let's talk a little bit about reality that we all are seeing, right? Organizations are investing heavily in DEI, inclusion, engagement, but still we see a couple of employees or a good amount of employees are still disconnected. What do you think that we are not getting right, or where is it that we are going wrong, Rekha? Your thoughts on that?
Yes, people still feel that they're disconnected. There is a gap. You are building the policies, but are we trying to experience it? Are people, it has been transformed into experience to people. That is where we are lacking. We are trying to build the policies, procedures, but how do we know that it is experienced by an employee? That is a one kind of a gap that we are seeing today.
Leaders say inclusion, but still employees feel that there is a bias, there is some hierarchies which are being followed by the leaders. They always feel that, okay, I am not considered. That feel has come to employees. Every employee feels that. If you think, sometimes you may also feel that, right? So there's another thing is the consistency, what I spoke about. All the managers, any manager in any level should be having a consistent behavior to his employee. He should be able to inculcate a feeling of oneness. That is the behavior every manager should have in an organization, to bring that togetherness, the belongingness with the employees for the organization, which will definitely lead to an impactful business for the organization. That's my opinion, Ashima.
Thank you, Rekha. And if I can add one thing here, when you spoke about managers' consistent behavior, give team that safe space wherein we can agree to disagree. We can share our opinions and voices if we are not comfortable with something, right? And at the same time, we are one strong collaborative unit together. So yeah,
Definitely.
thank you for
And
that.
we should have a platform where we can even listen to people. And the most junior most guy may have some input which can add value for the organization. That is what we should try to do. And as leaders, this is what we have to inculcate down the line, and right from the top to bottom.
Absolutely, completely echo with you. Um, Prerna, in your introduction, you mentioned you have transitioned from HR to projects. You're also working collectively with the teams, working in different kind of models, hybrid model, offline model, online model. So how do you think we can build this cultural aspect and connection when people are not physically together?
So again, in today's hybrid world, culture can no longer rely on physical proximity. It must rely on intentional design. Hybrid culture shows up in how teams share information and make decisions. And in strong hybrid environments, communication flows freely. Decisions are collaborative, and information is accessible to everyone, regardless of where they log in from. And over here, again, it's the leadership that plays a critical role by setting clear expectations and modeling inclusive behavior. So, when leaders actively welcome feedback, celebrate wins, be it big or small, and create space for diverse voices, they set the tone for belonging. So, giving culture today means being deliberate about visibility, inclusion, and communication. It means ensuring that access to information is not limited only to those in the room. It means structuring meetings so remote voices are invited in, not treated as afterthoughts. Because again, if you see in hybrid environments, belonging can be very fragile. And that's where feedback, trust, and recognition, they become the glue. So when feedback is consistent and recognition is visible, trust grows. And trust is what makes people feel a part of something bigger than their screens. And giving culture to gain belonging in this context means giving clarity, access, recognition, and voice. And when done right, people don't feel remote, they feel connected. They feel seen, they feel that they belong. So hybrid doesn't weaken the culture, but lack of intentionality does it. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you. And I must say that trust is foundation of all of it. When once that foundation is strong, that is when you start with feedback, you have recognitions, you have various other forms and parameters of collaborating in the team. So at one point of time, I used to hear it in my previous organization, we start with a place of trust, right? We trust you till the time you give us you give us any incident or any opportunity of not to trust you. And if that was the scene, let's have matured conversation around it.
Right.
So I guess it is all about understanding each other, and how do you then handhold and have matured conversations around it. So perfect. That sums it all very nicely, Prerna. Another interesting question in my head, the way we saw offline, online, hybrid, it brings a lot of emotional quotient into picture, right? There are sometimes you'll have to understand what's going on samne wala person's mind. If belonging is such an emotional and a personal experience, can it be measured? And Rekha, what would you say that organizations can track it efficiently?
Yeah, I agree with what Prerna said. Let it be, offline or online or virtual, whatsoever be. Belongingness is to be one of the most important thing in organization. And yes, we can measure belongingness. People may feel survey is the only thing that we can use as a tool for, measuring the belongingness. But then, in my opinion, every HR in any organization looks into the attrition, right? So why attritions are looked in? It is not only for numbers or figures or which can be projected to the management, but here we will be able to understand why people are leaving the organization. Rather than looking at numbers, we need to look at why there is a reduction in the organization, why people are leaving. That's where we can first identify there is something going wrong. We have to get into the root cause why this is happening. One point is through attrition you will be able to know. The second thing is the manager's effectiveness. I say the manager's effectiveness, it is in every level, as I already told you, because how effectively a manager retains his team, that is very important. Let it be projects, let it be, in the departments of the organization. I believe that people leave their managers rather than leaving the organization. I always believe that. And try to do a skip level meetings. Try to get connected with 360-degree feedback, which we have been practicing in our organization. We are doing the 360-degree feedback with our stakeholders. It could be internal stakeholder, it could be external stakeholder. And this is what I have practiced. Even for the senior managements, I have been doing that because the senior management may not know that I am doing that, but I do that so that we understand our leaders are aligned to the business outcome. Only if my leader is aligned to the business outcome, he will develop his team and also align them along with them. This is what I feel. These 3 or 4 tools which you can use as measurable output for any of the HR tool. And what is not measured cannot improve anytime.
Absolutely. So, yeah, some stats are needed when we speak about it, and how it is something that can be felt, right? But when we have to present it saying that it's been felt positively, what is
Correct.
that positive number and how do we present it? Absolutely. Thank you for that, Rekha. You spoke about managers' effectiveness and leaders' alignment with overall business outcomes or managing the teams. Prerna, do you feel women leaders or the women managers bring a different lens when it comes to building culture or belongingness for their teams?
So, Ashima, I believe women leaders can bring a different perspective on building culture. No, not because of the gender alone, but because of lived experience. Many women leaders have navigated environments where they've had to earn credibility, manage bias, and like Rekha also called it out in her very few last statements that she mentioned, balance multiple roles and build influence without always having positional power. So that often builds a heightened awareness of inclusion, psychological safety, and equitable access. And as a result, many women leaders are intentional about creating that space for diverse voices, encouraging collaboration, and leading with empathy. But again, empathy alone is not enough. Empathy combined with accountability is what creates sustainable cultures. And when leaders balance care with clear standards, performance expectations remain high, yet people don't feel diminished in the process. And that said, inclusive culture is not a woman's responsibility, it's a leadership responsibility. And the real impact comes from diversity at the leadership table. When different perspectives shape decisions, culture becomes more representative and it becomes more nuanced and ultimately more conducive to belonging. So, again, it's not about women leading differently, but it's about diversity in leadership shaping culture more holistically.
Absolutely. You just hammered the hammered it right on the head. I am waiting for the day when we will move away from this term called as women leaders. A leader is a leader, right? And as you rightly said, it's diversity of leadership and not just men or a women leader. We have never heard of a term men leader. Women leader, I don't know from where do we get that. But yeah, thank you for that. Diversity when in a boardroom makes you learn new things, makes you understand new perspectives, and as a joint responsibility, the actions are then accountable. So, perfect. Uh, while yes, we learned about each other's experiences, let's make it a little more real as to how did you feel, or was there any one initiative or moment in your careers wherein you truly felt, yes, I belong to this organization? Maybe Rekha, if you can take this up.
Yes. See, when I have joined this organization, I can give you my experience when exactly I felt that I am needed for the organization. That is when you are job satisfaction. When you have a job satisfaction is one, and when you are heard by the management, you have certain lot of creativity, lot of thoughts that you can bring through the table of the organization for the betterment of the organization. When you are not heard, then what happens? You feel demotivated. You feel, okay, I think I'm not competent enough. So that we should not set between the management and the employee. So in my tenure in this organization, what has happened is I was able to contribute to whatever competency I had, and the management has always given me that openness, the flexibility to reach out to people, to contribute my level of intuitions to the organization. That is when I felt that yes, my thoughts have been heard by the management, and this is where I can contribute to the organizations to impact the business. That is what I felt in my journey. So when you are being given your kind of responsibility and you can spread over and expand that to a wider angle, it is not only to your function, because HR is no more a function. Today, I believe and I always contribute to the business of the organization. This should be impacting the business. That is where you are valued. So that's my experience.
Two-way street, I would say, wherein uh, who takes the first step in sense of are you getting there? Are you getting your sense of comfort, your sense of satisfaction there, right? So at the end of the day, as to how do you manage these relationships and how do you take it further? Perfect. Thank you for sharing that, Rekha. One of the words that I'm getting to here is being valued, being able to speak. I somehow also correlate it to psychological safety. Prerna, how, in your experience, how do you say it is critical to belonging, and what can leaders practically do to build it or to have it more often?
So again, psychological safety is the foundation of belonging. According to me, uh, you cannot feel that you belong in a space where you're afraid to speak up, disagree, or ask a question, or even admit a mistake. So belonging is emotional, but psychological safety is behavioral, and it is that condition that allows belonging to exist. In fact, if I have to quote some data over here, studies show that employees in psychological state safe environments are up to 3.5 times more likely to be highly engaged and significantly more likely to share ideas and collaborate effectively. Yet, the same research also indicates that nearly 60% of employees have held back ideas at work due to fear of negative consequences. And that hesitation directly affects innovation, performance, and retention. So, how do leaders and how should leaders build psychological safety in practical terms? Well, these are my thoughts again. First, by modeling vulnerability. When leaders admit mistakes or say, I don't know, they normalize learning over perfection. Second is by responding constructively to dissent. If, for example, if the first person who disagrees is shut down, the room goes silent. And then third is by separating performance from personal worth. High standards and high respect can coexist. I mean, you can rigorously challenge the work while preserving the individual's dignity. So that balance drives excellence without creating fear. And finally, of course, by ensuring equity of voice, noticing who speaks often, who doesn't, and intentionally creating that space. So, psychological safety isn't about lowering the bar. It's about creating an environment where people feel safe enough to raise that bar. And when people feel safe to contribute fully, belonging stops becoming aspirational. It becomes embedded in how teams operate. So for me, psychological safety definitely brings that important element when it comes to the aspect of belonging.
Wow. Lovely 3 or 4 pointers that you shared, and something very, very doable, I must say, right? It's not important for all the leaders. It's unnecessary pressure on a leader's head, and that pressure then gets passed on to the team. It's not necessary for leaders to know all the answers at all the times. It's okay if you say, okay, I'll get back. But yeah, the important thing is please get back to the team. That's important,
True.
something that
Yeah.
we should remember, right? There are two small initiatives that I would want to share. One in my current organization, a day that we celebrate an annual day, that the simple question, are you okay? So it's an "Are you okay?" cards are distributed. Somebody would want to share, open up, right? How do you call people to open up? How can they share, right? So something very, very small, but yeah, deeply impactful. Not at all locations, of course. And another thing, in one of my previous organizations, yes, you have your team leaders to whom you can go and speak, you have your HRs, but there we also had one more official role, mavens. You can go and speak to your mavens if you're facing any kind of issues, if you're not understanding anything, you're not comfortable speaking with your manager, or you think that HR is also not going to understand. A very unfortunate scene, but yeah. So there was a third person that was available, and this third person was not from a leadership cadre, somebody from the business. So a very, very to have quarterly meetings with these mavens. And yeah, there were a couple of considerable, thoughtful actions we had taken when people used to come, speak to them, share the feedback, and they used to think that, oh, they've heard and the action has been taken. So very strong and a useful program that we had. Um, yeah, that was, thank you, Prerna, for that. And one thing is, I see that's happening regularly is the change, right? A lot of unlearning and relearning that has happened from the post COVID times, in the times of uncertainty, the geopolitics. There's so many things happening around us, right? Rekha, how do you see HR shaping culture differently in next 3 to 5 years?
As I've always believed that function, it is a business accelerator. I see HRs as business drivers who will impact the business, and I feel that HR should bring a lot of change for the organization. Policies should be converted into experience. That is when you can see this change. The policies which are written down theoretically should actually change into experience with the employees who are working with you and bring the belongingness into the action. Bringing leadership pipeline into the organization, which will definitely help you drive the business. That is very important for any organization. As a CHRO, as a HR leader, I look into that. We also need to focus on capability building of all the leaders in any level that you have. So, in my opinion, the CHROs today should look into how they impact the business. I would always say that HR or a head of HR or a CHRO should be measured by what impact they bring to the business. That is where I see the CHROs in future, in the next 3 to 5 years. Not next 3 to 5 years, I would say immediately. You have to look into that, what they bring to the table of the organization. Only then the organization should actually bring business to the company. Okay, and this has to be elevated. As a HR, you are a business enabler and an accelerator who can impact the business. That's where we look into.
In fact, I
You
agree
divide
with
to
Rekha. It shouldn't
differentiate.
be the 3 to 5. In fact, it should happen immediately. And I think in some situations we are already seeing it happen. It's
Yes.
just that we need to maintain that consistency.
Absolutely. It's an everyday thing, I would say, right? And very rightly, as what Rekha said, it is a business function. Why do we differentiate when other service lines or other functions are measured or spoken to differently? Why HR cannot be the same contributor onto the table, right? What is that impact, or what is it that we are doing to improve the business capability or contributing towards the business directly? Let's speak on those hard numbers. Suddenly, when you speak about HR, the numbers become fuzzy duzzy all of a sudden, and we speak about how much hiring done and what's the attrition rate, and that's it. So, yeah, that's a little shift that we'll have to
HR
start
should
practicing right
be the
from
board
today
member.
itself. Sorry, Rekha, we can't hear you
Every
clearly.
organization should think that you're not able to hear me.
Go ahead, please.
Every organization should think that HR should be a part of the board, because that is when they will understand what the employees are actually feeling about. So that is where we can add a lot of value to the organization.
Absolutely. It's all about creating the space for us onto the table with the right inputs. And when I say the right inputs, it is all about people who are running this business, right? If you're not connected to your people, there's nothing much you can do more about it. So thank you for that perspective. Now let's lighten up things a little bit before we close. Let's move on to our rapid fire. And when I say rapid fire, it has to be a real quick one. Um, Prerna, what is that one word that describes your leadership style?
Well, for me, it's accountable, because culture, performance, belonging doesn't sustain without ownership at every level.
So
So
being accountable. Okay. And Rekha, what would that be for you? Your leadership style, one word.
Yeah, in my opinion,
There's a lot of
I should
network
be
disruption,
an
Rekha.
enabler.
Rekha, do you want to switch off your video for a minute and then try?
Okay.
Yeah. If you can give us that one word.
Yeah, in
Let's
my
try.
opinion, yeah, one word is being an enabler, because I build leaders who actually bring in business and not followers.
Absolutely. Both the words are kind of correlated to each other. Being accountable, being enabler. Let's get it done. The doer words. Love that. And one habit that every HR leader should practice daily. What's that one mantra, success mantra?
if I may go, I would say
Yeah.
listen intentionally, not just listening, but intentionally.
Listen intentionally. Lovely. I guess that is something that we, not just the HRs, anyone and everyone should be doing it to be
Right.
a wonderful leader. It's a personality driven requirement for all of us. Thank you for that, Prerna.
Especially to what isn't being said. So,
Understand those cues.
those cues, yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. Rekha, what would that be for you?
In
One
my
habit every
opinion,
HR leader should practice daily.
I would say they should practice A game to understand what went
There's a
wrong
lot of disruption, Rekha. I'm sorry. We can't hear you clearly.
earlier or the previous day, or just A game is one thing. Just help me. You're not able to hear me. Sorry for that.
No, there's a lot of disruption. It's breaking in between.
Just give me a minute.
Rapid fire is not so rapid for us. Yeah, just hang in a little longer. We are towards the end of the session.
Just give me a
Yes, no worries. My learning for all of the such forums and roundtable discussions, technology, while it is a very, very big enabler for us, there has to be some other technology disruption in all the sessions.
True.
Yeah, Rekha is
Yeah,
back.
I
I
think
guess
you can
this is
hear me
good.
now.
Yes. Do you want to
Yeah,
mute your
my
laptop,
one thing
Rekha? There's
is
an echo.
I practice
one thing is
Just mute your laptop. Yeah.
mute that. I practice A game which is actually helping me in every actions that I do or every activity I perform. So I believe that people should practice A game to understand what went wrong, what can we do, what we can do the best. So this A game
Help you
is
all to
going to help
listen
you all
like
to
what
listen,
Prerna
like
said.
what Prerna
Good
said. We
listeners.
should be
In the
good
same way,
listeners.
I
In the
feel
same way,
we
I
should
feel we should understand where we have gone wrong as HR so that we can address that issue immediately as thinking that it is a root cause for for the outcome what we are going to give for the organization. This is my perspective,
Perfect.
Ashima.
Great. Just be there itself. Do not go to your laptop. Be from your phone. Just before the wrap up, my one last question, not just as HRs, but as organization leaders also. What is that one thing organization or all the leaders together must do today to truly create belonging as a larger group? While as HRs, we have shared our thoughts, our perspectives, but as a larger group, what do you think?
I feel build a culture of consistency for the organization
Great.
and which will be inclusive of leadership in every employee feels heard, respected, and trusted.
Absolutely. Put a plus signature in all of this. Equal to sign is equal to belongingness. Thank you. Thank you for that, Rekha. Prerna, over to you.
So I would say align incentives with inclusive behavior because culture ultimately follows what you reward. So
Wow.
yeah, so I would bring the element of incentives.
Incentivize. Okay, that's a new and a different thought, I would say. But on that thought, thank you so much, Rekha and Prerna, for incredibly insightful session. Your thoughts, your daily experiences, your interactions with your leaders and with your people that you have shared with us. If there's one thing that stands out from today's discussion is that belonging is not just built through policies, but it is through everyday expressions, experiences, leadership behaviors, and meaningful connections, right? If I have to conclude it, I would say when people feel they belong, they just do not stay, they thrive. And on that note, thank you so much, Rajalakshmi, Sakkhi for Women, Prerna, and Rekha for your thoughts, for putting us, all of us together for this platform, and to the wonderful audience who have joined us online. Rajalakshmi, I'm not too sure if there are any questions online or anything that you would want to take us. Over to you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Asima.
Thank you.
And I would like to open this forum for any questions. If anybody wants, you can mute yourself or put it in the chat. And if anybody wants to take up a question, I think in chat also we didn't get any of the questions. So I feel, are we good to go? Okay, great conversation. That's what Sheena is telling. Um,
Thank you, Sheena.
Thank you, Sheena.
Thank you, Sheena.
So if anybody, I think you
Thank
people
you.
can
Thank
mute
you,
yourself if somebody
Prerna.
wants
Thank
to ask the
you,
question.
Ashima and Rajalakshmi. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Thank you, Ashima, for giving us this opportunity.
Asha is saying very insightful. Okay, thank you, Asha. So I think we are good to go as we have not found any questions. Thank you, Asima, for being moderator for this panel discussion, and Prerna and Rekha for joining us as speakers today. As we close today's session, let's remember belonging is not strategy, it's a responsibility. Thank you for our incredible speakers and each one of you for being part of this conversation, connecting, inspiring, and empowering. And we will see you again very soon. Before we close, I invite you all to stay connected with us. Follow Sakkhi on LinkedIn for more such conversations. be part of our growing community of professionals and leaders. Because of this, just the beginning. Thank you for everybody who have joined today for this conversation. And let's connect, inspire, and lead. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ash. Thank you. Thank you, Rajalakshmi. Thank you.